Okay. We are going to get started because we know you all have many things to do here today. Thank you very much for joining us. We tried to get this around lunchtime so that even if you're only able to come for a little bit, it's totally cool. Karen, you go when you have to go. It's absolutely fine. Everybody's running around like crazy these days. We know that this is a particularly difficult year. We thought last year was bad. It has been very tough on everyone. So we really do appreciate you taking the time to come talk with us about future readiness. Debbie and I are here to assist in any way possible. So let's dive in. I'm Sarah Brooks, and this is my counterpart, Debbie Pixton. We are currently at, we work at the Consortium for Public Education, and we work within a number of different initiatives and programs, all helping students to focus on really answering three questions. Who am I? Who do I want to be? And how do I get there? And our nonprofit is a 35-year-old nonprofit that is based out in McKeesport, which you are not really sure where McKeesport is. It's about 30 minutes south of Pittsburgh. And our main focus over the last 5 to 6 years has really been in future readiness. And well, what does that mean? We are helping educators and students. We're helping educators and students prep for really what life is after school. And really, we do that by helping them answer these three lovely questions, which help guide all of our work. We currently work with over 57 school districts across 9 different counties in Southwestern PA, and we have over 80 community partners. So we really do like to pool our resources, assist with capacity, with ideas, professional development, all in the name of helping students and sometimes helping educators help students answer our three questions. So, as I said, it's been a really rough year so far, and it's only November. So this is how we all want to feel right now, right? Like everything is serene. However, we also know that we're all running a million miles and how some of us might just really want to go and take a nap. So that's okay. We try and lean into the difficulties of currently doing your jobs. We understand many of us are educators, have taught in the past at schools. We all kind of bring our own little perspectives to education, what it could be. We all understand what it currently is. And so we all know, we see you, and we really do just appreciate all the hard work that you have put in this past year, because we know it's been very difficult. So, and with that, we are here to help explain what future readiness is. So in the chat, we have a lovely little group here with us. Take a moment to think about and reflect on what skills and knowledge do you want your students to be able to graduate with? Because we all are coming at this again from our different lenses of our different roles within our districts and within our IUs. And it's really important to kind of just take a minute and go, well, what's really important to me as an educator for my students to be able to know and to do once they graduate? Thank you, Karen. Absolutely. Communication. Wow. It's so hard, right? Even for adults. And working collaboratively, we all know it's very rare to have a job where you just work by yourself. They are out there, and there are some people that is their bread and butter, and they really prefer to be in a situation like that. But for the most part, we are all working in teams. So how do we learn and set students up for success in working collaboratively? And as well as, when you're going to work collaboratively, how do you communicate well with each other, right? As I said, our work is all centered around teams, and it is really important that we are all communicating well. Sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we get it wrong. And how do we move on from that, right? Yes, sustain employment, be productive members of their community. What does that look like for each and individual student? Communicate again, absolutely. Thank you. Interact appropriately and productively. Correct. Anyone else have anything to add? Yeah, absolutely. Right. Our students don't know what jobs there are out there. Thank you, Karen. Absolutely. And how do we bring in experiences and make them more knowledgeable about, what are the potential job offerings? And no, it just doesn't have to be post-secondary right after school, but can I go into the trades and into the workforce? And can I find a place that will pay for my degree? So yes, it's very important. So often our students only see the jobs that they are familiar with and what their family members do. And there are so many other places that you can go and have a successful career. All right. So thank you very much for putting your ideas into the chat. I really appreciate it. So we wanted to just take a minute to level set as to like, why are we all here today talking about this? So we want to really give a broad understanding of what future readiness is and how it's going to affect you as an educator and how it will affect your students, the importance of it and examples of how it's being done currently in districts, and then to kind of give some ideas for like incorporating future readiness into the work that you're currently doing, because it really is important and it does need to be identified and actively worked in to curriculum, to approaches that school districts are making, because again, as Karen, you put so well, students just don't know, right? So we have to start having these conversations earlier, not just in high school, but in elementary school, and it has to continue all the way through their K through 12 experience. All right, and I'm passing it over to Debbie.
Thank you, Sarah. So I have the pleasure of telling you more about what Pennsylvania says about future readiness. I'm sure most of you have seen already and have lots of experience with the Future Ready PA Index, that it has its 3 buckets of state assessment measures, on-track measures, and college career measures for each district, each school. And really those break down into those state assessment measures that we have in the state of Pennsylvania, the percent of PSSA, proficient or advanced, annual growth expectations. We have those on-track measures in English language proficiency, chronic absenteeism, as well as grades 3 reading and grade 7 math. And then we have the college and career measures. Those are the ones that we spend the most time talking about at the consortium. And particularly of those, we talk about the career standard benchmarks, those CEW standards, and the industry-based learning indicators. Not because the other ones aren't important, but because these are ones we are most able to help facilitate that schools can't just do on their own. Just for a little more context, if you're not familiar with the CEW standards, there are 4 of them, and they really are all designed to make sure that students can not only find a job, but that they can keep a job, that they're aware of the wide variety of careers available to them. As Sarah said, most students only are familiar with the careers that their parents have, maybe some other close family members or like their neighbor has, but they don't really know about the huge number of jobs and careers that are available to them. Then not only how to get that job, but how to keep that job and advance in that job so that they're not just that, to use the McDonald's overused example, they're not just flipping burgers at McDonald's, but if they do decide to have a career in hospitality, that they can move up in the ranks of managing or owning a restaurant. The 339 plan, which I'm sure you also know about, it's also referred to as the K-12 school guidance plan, articulates how these standards will be integrated into the curriculum. We've worked with some folks who have been like, so how does the 339 plan fit? Well, this is the plan for how you're going to accomplish these things. One of the things that you need in relation to those CEW standards are artifacts. And those artifacts are meant to demonstrate that students are engaged, not just that they showed up. Right? Participation is not engagement. So you can't use, for example, a lesson plan or an IEP or transition plan to document as an artifact. Those don't show student engagement. But if you have students reflecting, or if you have a rubric detailing learning criteria, then those are acceptable pieces of evidence. One other thing we like to point out is that student reflections don't have to be written. They can be audio recordings or video recordings if that works better for a student's learning or their current abilities. Now, there are lots of requirements about the artifacts. Students need 20 of them by graduation, and each CEW standard needs to be represented at least 3 times. This slide is a little bit dense, so I won't read it all to you, but essentially in grades K through 5, you need 6 pieces of evidence. In grades 6 through 8, you also need 6 pieces of evidence. You need as well as an individual career plan, which does count as an artifact that first time that they complete it. In grades 9 through 11, they need 8 pieces of evidence, and 2 of those need to demonstrate implementation of the individual career plan. Usually, folks revisit their career plan in their junior year, grade 11, but rewriting the career plan doesn't count as another artifact. It only the demonstration of implementation of that plan counts as evidence. And again, that individual career plan, it counts the first time, but if your student, we have a lot of questions about students that transfer, so I'll go ahead and address that here. If you have a student who transfers into your grade, into your school in 9th grade, for example, and doesn't bring a career plan with them, that first time that they write it still counts as an artifact, even if it wasn't done in the grade that it generally would be. So don't want to misstate that here. A little bit more about those individual career plans. According to the state, that's a document developed by the student that identifies a series of educational studies and experiences to prepare them for post-secondary plans. And again, it's usually created in the 8th grade, and it should include their plans for exploring work, education, and career opportunities. Implementing the individual career plan, that can look like they did a job shadow, that they did an interview with someone in their that career that they're interested in. Things of that nature are considered implementing that career plan. One of the other things that we talk a lot about at the consortium is that industry-based learning indicator. And it really requires a business partner to the school for completion. One of the options for the industry-based learning indicator is for students who are at your CTC or CTE school. If they complete the NOCTI or NIMS with a competent or advanced score, that qualifies them. Students who complete an industry recognized credential, there's a set list of them that the state has. Is very long, but there are a lot of different industry recognized credentials that students can earn. Often students earn them at CTE, so even if they didn't get a competent or advanced score on the NOCTI or NIMS, if they have one of the credentials that aligns with the state's requirements, then that still counts. One other caution about this, it used to be that the CPR certification counted as an industry recognized credential, but as soon as that became a separate requirement of the state, that no longer counts. So you need something other than that. There are other medical related certifications that they can get, just not the CPR version. And the final option, one that we do a lot of work in, is called the work-based learning experience. I'm sure you've heard about it. And there are 6 different versions of ways, methods, if you will, to achieve the work-based learning experience. And I'm going to go into that here. But again, one of these is required for each senior that you have. One more comment about the work-based learning experiences. The first 4 are generally what most of your students will do: job shadows, career mentoring, internships, apprenticeships, or pre-apprenticeships. The cooperative learning can also be done by the majority of your students, but community-based work programs and service learning projects are generally for special populations. So just be aware that particularly students with different kinds of needs and abilities have alternatives to a job shadow, for instance, which may not work with their IEP plans and things like that. Let's take a minute and take a breath, because that is a lot of dense information. It's not very exciting, but it is great because our students are getting more practical requirements related to what they can do after high school. Go ahead, and I will pass it back to Sarah to talk a little bit more about the 339 plans.
Thanks, Debbie. So as Debbie said, it was a lot. And this is really where the 339 plan comes in to help. So We've got some folks that are not, really involved in the development and the design of their 339 plan. And so it's often we come, to educators, and not, when we say educators, it's not just teachers, it's anybody that works within a school system. And they're like, yeah, I heard about this thing, but I'm not really sure what it is. Like, I know we have one. I don't know where it lives or what it necessarily does. But in order to help meet all of those standards and the things that the state is looking for, and as well are good things for our students, the 339 plan is basically your implementation plan. How am I going to get this done as a district? So it's a comprehensive K through 12 plan that's going to address all the future readiness things in your district. And it's very holistic. It's a very much a district-wide approach and strategy to getting your kids what they need by the time they graduate. And really the idea is that it's going to help kind of create like a roadmap so that students are going to systematically meet the benchmarks. Where we see some issues is when we have students that are transitioning or moving between districts, and being able to keep track of what work and within future readiness those students have done from one district to the next. And that is something that I think every district struggles with, but we do work with a lot of districts that all kind of work together in figuring this out. But since every 339 plan is different, those students that move between districts do sometimes need to get caught up, or sometimes they come in with a lot of, they've hit a lot of their benchmarks already. You've got students that move in from out of state. So clearly, none of this is always going to solve all of the issues for students, but it is an attempt to at least get everyone in the district pointed in the right direction. And that is not just leadership, but this are the teachers, the paraprofessionals, staff, any outside partners that are working with schools. So very important that everyone is all together and this is their plan. However, what happens sometimes is that the people that need to actually implement the plan don't know that a plan exists. So this is our 339 plan. And they're typically counselor driven. And that means that, stakeholder engagement is really key. And when we're talking about stakeholders, that's going to, anybody that's a teacher, that's an administrator, students, parents, business and community, any post-secondary partnerships you have, all of those stakeholders need to kind of be aware of what this 339 plan is. Here is just an example of what a 339 plan can look like. Yours might look something like this. It might look totally different. It could be something that, is really, really thick, or something that's a little bit less so. It really just depends on each district and what they're able to put together and how they want to approach future readiness within their system. So everybody's already doing future readiness. Some folks know that there's a 339 plan. Some folks do not. Some folks are like, what is this future readiness? What we end up finding is that everybody's doing it. It might be in pockets, but every district does have future readiness happening. So in the chat, just because it's really great for other folks to know where other different types of future readiness is being addressed, because you never know, you might learn a thing. Put in the chat where you see examples of future readiness currently happening in your district. And if you're not really sure because pandemic land and COVID, where have they happened in the past? Oh, excellent. Graduation portfolio classes. Thank you. I appreciate you putting that in there. We used to teach specifically to transition, but do not have this anymore. Yes, we've, seen a lot of the transitioning between, different grades, as well as like what happens out once we leave, or students leave school. What does that look like, right? Yes, graduation portfolio classes. We've had some districts that have done like graduation projects, which are all the juniors and seniors. They've like kind of been working towards, and then they present. We've had the opportunity of being folks in the audience, which was always a lot of fun. So yes, absolutely. Those are great examples. Thank you. At the elementary level, our students work with counselors on early career goals within an electronic platform. Fabulous, right? Being able to like work with your counselors and whoosh for your counselors, because we know that those ratios between students and counselors are insanely high. So well done. That's great that you're developing the connection already between your students and their counselors, and it's an electronic platform, which means it can move with the student. We find that is a really great way to address, keeping all of the ideas together, right? And those like where like the developments of the students' ideas, what they want to do and what they're interested in, right? And so there's clearly a timeline that students can follow, and they can bring that with them, and it can change and can be modified. So that's really wonderful. We've worked with other smaller districts that have actually been really happy just working in paper, and that's okay too, right? It really depends on your system. If you've got a small enough district, that makes sense because your kids, there's not very many of them. So it's really just easier to keep them in nice little paper folders, and it just kind of moves with the students. Project-based learning experiences with business partners and high school classes, that's another great addition. So all of that works. We've worked with programming where we've partnered high schools with a business, all in service of trying to solve a problem for that business, right? The students learn a little bit about what this business does and what the careers within that business, as well as now we're making connection between the adults and the high schoolers in order to help the business solve a problem, which is always really fun to watch students in their weird kind of cool brains attempting and really succeeding, because oftentimes they come up with really awesome ideas, even though the teachers and the administrators are like, oh, this is nerve-wracking for us. The students always deliver, and the business is always really excited about what the kids have to say. So making really great connections, and those partnerships can develop into even bigger partnerships for that district. So why is it that, like, as an educator, future readiness should matter to me? Right. As a high school science teacher, why is it important that my students know what future readiness is? If I'm going to put my teacher hat on, I've got all of these content things that I need to run through. And why is it important that I spend what I would think is extra time working on future readiness for my students? And really the answer is that it takes a village. So it's a team effort, right? The national student to counselor ratio, it's 464 to 1. That means one counselor is in charge of almost 500 students nationwide on average. That's insane. How can we possibly ask our counselors to do all of this work, right? Counselors are going to need help. These things have to start, these ideas about future readiness really do need to be brought into the classroom and shown as extracurricular activities and, experiences for students, because students are beginning to eliminate career options as early as 5 these days. And sometimes that's even based on gender, which is a whole nother thing, right? So we really have to help students to see a clear connection between what they're learning in class, why and how it is connected to their community, and then what are different pathways that they have beyond K through 12. Because they really do need to have as much information as possible in order to make the best decision that they can for their future, and to have multiple plans. Because as we all know, your career process is not, very linear. It's this crazy, weird type of pathway that almost all of us have taken in order to get to where we are now, right? So it is important. It is a team effort. It is really all about developing relationships with students and getting to know them and helping them take this information about their world and being able to internalize it, reflect on it, and come up with, well, maybe I would like to do this, and this is why, and this is how it's going to, my innate talents are going to help me in this current field. So it's really just, it needs to be a team effort. And the reason why our 3 questions, the who am I, who do I want to be, and how do I get there, really, like, where do those fit? Those can be answered a lot with having a very impactful, reflective student plan. And so putting students and developing a student plans with our students is a very helpful way to really get students into, what might this look like in the future? What might my future careers be? So how do we make student plans meaningful, right? This can be the addition of a student plan can be worked into your 339 plan, which will help meet all of those requirements that PDE is looking for. Do you have an academic means for your students to learn about the career pathways where they have an opportunity to reflect and update their career plans? If it's electronic plans, that's amazing. It starts in kindergarten and it's going to change as they go from year to year to year, all the way up until they graduate. Do students have a way where they can experience, and gain new knowledge about different types of career pathways, where they can then reflect upon that and then take that information that they gained about themselves and their talents and update their career plans? Do they have a way to learn and practice different career ready skills? Part of the reason, for a little plug for CPE, is why we are super into project-based learning, is because you are actually, as a student, learning a lot of skills that will help you in your future career. And that's only as they work through these things, learning will help to inform what their career plans are. So student plans is just one way, but a really humongously impactful way of getting students to kind of work through what they want to do, reflect on things, have conversations with people who care about what they're going to be doing after they graduate. So I'm passing it over to Debbie, and she's going to talk about the resources that we have at the consortium, which might kind of help meet some of your 339 plans and meet some of these things that PDE is asking for.
Sure, thanks, Sarah. So the first thing we want to bring up is we have a library of nearly 130 videos for students and educators who are like, well, I don't know what a critical care nurse does that's different from a regular nurse that I see at the doctor's office when I go for my annual physical. I don't know what they do. I don't know how project management works in the healthcare industry. Well, we have these videos. They are short. They're all 10 minutes or less. That help students kind of get a taste of what different careers are like in all 16 career clusters. So construction, architecture, STEM, healthcare, human services, all of the different career clusters. So particularly in places that are rural, where getting to a place to learn about a type of career is difficult, or where there might be socioeconomic challenges, these videos are a really great way to help students start to think, yeah, I really want to learn more about that. Or, wow, the lawyer said I need to read and write a lot, and I do not enjoy that. So I should not go to law school. Not because law school is inherently bad, but because that doesn't fit with my skills and interests. So the link is here, but you can find them easily on our website through the student portal or through the educator portal. They're also on our YouTube channel if that's an easier means for you. Thank you for dropping that in the chat, Sarah. We also have taken to doing some snack and learn videos. Now, the snack and learn videos are different from career journeys because career journeys are really about an individual professional's pathway to a career and their advice for students who think that might be interesting. Snack and learns are more industry or business specific, and they're about the practicalities of being in an industry or working for a particular business. This past year, so starting in September, we launched a series that's exploring less from the business side, but more about non-traditional, so not college career pathways, post-secondary pathways, but about things like apprenticeships and other kinds of programs that provide you with really tangible skills to get you in a well-paying job in tech, in manufacturing, in all kinds of things. Even in situations that are more artistic. So the snack and learns can also provide you with some great information for students who are exploring different options because they don't think a traditional four-year college program is the right fit for them. Again, most of our work with businesses is to provide students with a career path. So we're not looking at jobs that are dead end, that don't pay well. We're looking for a certain minimum wage, that there are benefits like health benefits, ideally education benefits as well. And that there's a way to progress so that you end up with a family sustaining wage. So do check those out if you are interested or have students that may want to explore more than what a large population of your students is able to access. As Sarah mentioned, we are very excited about project-based learning as part of our work at the consortium. We also do a lot of work around human-centered design, social emotional learning, and student plans. We've really feel like project-based learning, human-centered design, and social emotional learning can support your student plan work, in addition to being standalone great pieces for instruction and pedagogy, as well as problem solving and just really dealing with and managing the wide array of mental health issues that we're seeing, especially this year. So always happy to talk about those things. If you're looking for a particular webinar or training for your district or your IU with that, we would be happy to help with any of those things. Last year, we also launched, I mentioned that career mentoring is one of the work-based learning experience options, and we realized that a lot of students could not complete that industry-based learning indicator without a work-based learning experience because they couldn't get on site. They couldn't do a job shadow. Well, we worked with the Pennsylvania Department of Education to develop a small group career mentoring model that brings a small group of students together with a small group of professionals to talk about specific careers. And it can be done entirely virtually or in a hybrid fashion. It does not have to be in person, but it gets students those 6 required hours and focuses on the relationship building that you really want in a career mentoring approach. So both that and our HBCU mentoring really are great options to learn about. The small group career mentoring, we can help facilitate that, but we also train people to do it on their own. And in fact, we're doing one of those trainings tomorrow at noon. So if you're interested in that, we would be happy to see you at the webinar tomorrow. I will be there again. So if you want more time with me, you're welcome to join us. Again, if you register but can't attend, you'll get the recording after the fact. And finally, we do a lot of work to connect with partners. Our Partner Up program works with PNC and really helps students in high school learn about those skills that they need to get and keep a job that is going to help them progress and provide for themselves and often for their families as well. That program is expanding past Allegheny County. So if that's something that you're interested in, we can help you with that. And we run a Future Ready Partnerships Conference. We first had it in 2019. Our 2020 conference was canceled. And obviously this year we were still not able to have a conference in person, but that conference is really designed to help support those partnerships that will help strengthen your Future Ready approach with your students at every grade level. Both with the students themselves and especially in those early grades with the parents as well. Although, with parents having a lot of job changes, sometimes that can be really helpful to them as well. So Stronger School Business Partnerships, that conference talks about strategies, examples, and offers opportunities to connect with new partners. So more details about what will be happening then for that will be forthcoming. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.